Hello,
I
everyone.
see.
Yes, that is the go live sign. Hello, everyone. We are here with Geek Spiel's first ever Sunday night spiel. I don't really know. Is that Spiel if you're German or Spiel? S
Spiel. No, it's
Spiel?
Spiel. Spiel is in US. It's Spiel. Like Spiel.
Spiel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not pronouncing it wrong either way. I guess it's a good thing. Well, anyway, I'm Matt Miller, and I am here with my good friends. Actually, I know both of these guys personally, so we're going to try and have a conversation weekly about board games, geek stuff. I think we'll probably get talking about Doctor Who a little bit, those kind of things as well. So without further ado, I am Matt Miller. Geek Spiel is a brainchild of John Harman, and I came up with. I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, trying to put a podcast or a show like this together, a place to drop some videos of reviews and content and that kind of thing. And like all good ideas, it took a few years for it to grow into something we wanted to do, and here we are. So we're going to try this for a few weeks or forever. It depends on how many people want us to keep going. So this is Geek Spiel. And by day, I'm an IT guy at a railroad here in Virginia. And so this is a good outlet for me. I've got a game collection and two kids that are 9 and 5 that like to play games. So it's fun to finally get some of the collection I've been working on for the last 25 years off the shelf and onto the table. So that's my main motivation here too. For the last couple of years, if you've recognized me from YouTube, Gil and I have done a craft beer show. This is definitely a more family-friendly kind of hobby. So it's kind of hard to call craft beer a hobby, at least when I explain it to my wife. But here we are. So I'll introduce John next. John lives in the next town over from me and is a graphic designer. And I've heard him describe himself as a graphic designer, but if you've seen any of his original creations, you'll also know he is a wonderful artist too. So I got you started there, John. Take it
Okay.
away and tell us about you.
Yeah, actually, my day job is e-learning development for a company in here in Central Virginia. I do the graphic design as a side gig and the art as a hobby. So I get to do all of the fun creative stuff. The Geek Spiel logo, if you see it on our social media, is a creation by me with input by Matt. The the idea of playing games kind of comes from my now, I guess, 7-year run of hosting a board game night at my house. We, for the longest time, up until the last couple of months, we were every other weekend, we would play board games at my house without fail, with only occasional nights where we didn't have anything. But we have one coming up this weekend because this Saturday, if Matt didn't know already, International Tabletop Day. So there is no better reason to play board games other than the fact that board games are fun.
That's only a 3 or 4-year-old idea, isn't it? Tabletop Day? Is that
3 or 4? Yeah.
is
maybe
it a
4.
Will Wheaton thing they created? They started it back when they did their tabletop show. Does that sound right?
They're still doing tabletop. I don't remember what season they're on, but yeah, his organization. Well, I take that back. The organization that his show is part of, which is Geek and Sundry, was the one who founded the International Tabletop Day. It's great. I mean, they have events all over the country, and you can host an event at like a place locally, or have like what we're doing, which is an unofficial friends come over, play games, that type of thing.
Well, cool. I may actually come to your house for that event this weekend, and I might bring Logan and just come early and leave
fine.
early because
Yeah.
he hates it when I leave to go play games with people. And I thought, he's capable of playing some of the lighter weight games that we usually start the evenings with. So
Yeah, well, and he, if nothing else, Alec can play games with him as well.
oh yeah,
because
that's
he has
true.
a handful of
Yeah.
games that are kids games.
And if Jacob comes, he might bring one of his kids too, right? That's about the same
Max.
age. So
Yeah.
Max. So we'll see. All right. After John, next on the list is no stranger to Google Hangouts, no stranger to hanging out with me is Gil Melo. and Gil is well, he's an IT guy as well too. I guess everybody's an IT guy on some level. But tell us about yourself, Gil, and how you got into this hobby.
Well, good night, everybody. By the way, but well, the hobby of playing board game itself, I really can't pinpoint when did I start, but it's been a while ago. I was a kid and back and forth, but I think it really started to dawn on me was I started living to some guys from Germany, and they brought Settlers of Catan, and some other games, and I still have my German version for my Settler from 2000, and it just one thing led to another, one game after the other, just something that I love. So I do the craft beer that we do, the Craft Beer Nation as well, so it's a different podcast, but I've been always divided between the two hobbies, between craft beer and the board games, and I realized not long ago that I could do both, a little bit of both. And one of the places where I go, I do play board games every other week with the people from the guys from the Secret Cabal, and they meet at Beer Monger. So I work as an IT for a nonprofit organization, and I travel around and I met people from different countries, and I got the chance to play board games with people from several different countries, and that kind of it's a media that it's not quite like music that can reach everybody, but it's amazing how people that doesn't even speak each other's language can sit down and play a board game and have so much fun. I think it's just the sheer fun and the interaction. I'm not big on the solo games. I do play solo game, but for me it's more about the interaction and meet people. The whole meetup for the game.
Yeah, and Gil, like myself, has a wife who does not drink craft beer, and a young child. So, kind of focusing our energy on expendable income and energy on a hobby. This one definitely fits my family's bill better than craft beer does as well too. I still love craft beer, but this is a close second, that's for sure.
It helps for me. It helps that both my daughter and my wife like sport game. Maybe not on the same level I do, but I think I play 5 tribals with my wife at least once a week on the last 6 months, and now we're in playing Mysterion quite often. So there are a bunch of games that she loves and she'll play quite often. So that makes easy,
And those are 2 games I've never played. I can't believe 5 Tribes has been in my Amazon cart forever. I guess I didn't think that's a. Tell me about that. That's not a trick-taking game.
No. It's kind of a Mancala mechanics where you pick pieces and you keep dropping them as go by. So different from your average game. You're not a blue, red, or you just, everybody plays with the meeples, and each meeple represents a different faction from that team. And you have the assassin, you have the vizier, and things like that. And when you start on one tile, you grab all the meeples from that tile and you go dropping them down until you make sure that the last tile you stop, there's a meeple over that color, and you'll collect that color. And the idea is that you have an empty tile, so you can put your camel in there, and then you own that tile and score points. So there's genes, and I have the newer version, which has the fakir, but it was a game that was a lot of controversies because of the whole slave card that they had on the first edition. But it's a pretty good game. It's a little AP prone, depending who you play with. But I think it's a light game, but there's a lot of strategy underlying. So it's. Yeah.
What my funnest part of 5 Tribes is that if you get the expansion, you actually have 6 tribes.
That's true.
Yeah. It's the first time I played because we generally have a group that's big enough to support a 6-player game, And of course, we have a ton of 4-player and 5-player games. So I'm like, well, if we're going to play 5 tribes, can we play with 6 people? And he was like, yeah. I was like, but then that doesn't make any sense.
But it's also one of those games that I think the number of people in the box, it's a little pushed. I think 3-player is the sweet spot. 2 and 3 players are the best. Too many people, you can be a lot of downtime, during the rounds.
I kind of felt that way when we played Cosmic Encounter at your house there, John.
Yeah,
the
6 or 7 people you put it in there.
Yeah.
The beauty of Cosmic though is that when you're playing it, that every time you play it, it's a different game. I mean, even with the base rules, but you're right. I mean, if you have a 6-player game, which I think you can even go up to 7 with all the expansions, then it takes forever for you to be able to do anything unless you have an alien power that interrupts at any point. Then it can be kind of fun because then you're getting involved in every conflict that's going on. But if you're just, if your power only works on your turn or when you're a main combatant, there's nothing else you can do. You just sit and listen and hope that somebody doesn't get their last alien planet.
It's a game you have to play often too. It gets quicker if you play with a group that plays more often. It doesn't take long. They have a little strategy going. Yeah.
You also don't want to play with every expansion at the same time because it makes for an overly complex game that doesn't really actually make it any more fun. You want to have a nice balance of 1 or 2 of the expansion pieces because each expansion not only has the alien races, but it also has extra alien races, but it also has some new mechanic, like another deck of cards that does this, or another set of planets that do this, or artifacts, or all the different bits and pieces. And if you try to throw them all in the pool at the same time, it's no fun because then you have to remember what can work with what and beyond that. So. But yeah, I played Cosmic's one of those interesting games. I didn't play it a lot until about 20 years ago when a friend of mine introduced me to the Mayfair edition of the game. That game has had, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, 7 different iterations from 6 different companies or something along those lines. And the Eon version, I think, is the first one. And that goes back to the late 70s in terms of like when they released that board game. So the versions of it over the years, and I played the Eon version once because Steve has a copy of it, which he paid an arm and a leg for on eBay. But the Mayfair edition was what I was introduced to the game. And then I really like the newest iteration, the Fantasy Flight version, is a lot of fun. So.
I keep thinking I'm going to try and get some of these. We've talked about 2 games here where there's interaction between players, attacking or defending or blocking or messing with, and that's not a big hit in my household. My son is 9 and can still be emotionally reactive when when I attack him in something, even if that's by the design of the game. My wife, she says she will not play games where we attack each other. However, when we play Settlers, she draws great joy from putting the robber on something or for cutting my longest road in half, those kind of things. So I think it's maybe just more exposure, and I'll get her to come around.
Well, there's some of those cooperative competitive games to where like you're working together, but you're not necessarily working together at the end of the game. You're working together during the game, but somebody still has to win. So that aspect, like the first time I played Dominion, the base set, I'm like, this is boring because we didn't the recommended starter cards didn't include the witch or the moat or any of those things that you go against each other. I'm like, well, I could have played a solitary game by myself. So
that is a game that gets on the table, but we also have played Star Realms and Hero Realms.
Much better game. Much better game.
Yeah, and there is lots of you take 4 damage and that kind of stuff in that. So,
well, the game goes faster.
Yes, much faster.
Sorry,
Cosmic. No, I would say Cosmic is on my top 20.
Yeah.
All-time games.
It's on a lot of people's top 20 games. It's one of those, you either hate it with all of your being or you love it.
Right.
Yeah. It's on the wish list on cool stuff and Amazon and everything else. Sometimes I hesitate to buy a game that I know I'll never get to the table, and if I do, it'll be at your house and you've got a copy.
Yeah.
But then in the same time, I just backed Gloomhaven, the second printing, and I'll admit to it going right in. It's a beautiful game with lots of cool things, and I'll enjoy taking it out of the box and smelling it and punching it and all the other kind of stuff you have to do. But I don't have, not with my wife and kids. Maybe when my son's older and has friends that want to come over. But the thought of 15 gaming sessions where we play the same game, it just doesn't seem like, the pandemic, the legacy pandemic.
The legacy games.
Yeah, that looks so interesting to me, and it's #1 game on BGG, and I'd love to try it.
I've never played it.
We're in the 4th month. My wife loves it, and I think your wife would love too. She likes, it's a co-op game. It took me a little bit to convince her, but once we started, she can't wait for. We were making the month through. She can't wait for the next month to come.
All right. Well, I have the non-legacy version of Pandemic, so maybe I'll try and get that on the table and see if
it's fun. But apparently the legacy version is that much better.
It is better. Mm-hmm.
But I was going to make a joke when you were saying how you both have the co-op or the craft beer hobby, and how this is a better hobby. I was like, yeah, unless you're really into legacy games, and then they're disposable, and you have to.
Yeah.
But I have an idea. I have an idea floating in my head because I'm an amateur game designer as well. But the idea floating in my head of having a legacy game, like the structure of a legacy game, and I don't have a theme right now, but with a renewable, like you can go out and buy the starter pack again. So like you have the board and everything sticks around, and you still have the experience of the legacy progression and destroying cards and or whatever else. But then when you're done with it and you want to play again with another friend, you can go out and buy a refill pack and start over again. So
you can do something similar with time stories, right?
Yeah, I like time stories.
Yeah. And that's one I think Tom Vassell is a big fan of. When I see his reviews, it seems like that comes up a good bit in his favorite top 5 games or something. But there again, I've not played. Have you got any editions of that, John or Gil?
I do. I have the base set at my house. We haven't gotten it together because, like the legacy games, you should have the same group of people play over a period of time. They have a nifty mechanic inside the box for saving the state of your game. To where, like, if you don't finish in that given session, you can put all the stuff where it is, and then that way, when you come back, you know exactly what you had in your possession at that time. So, yeah, it's a pretty neat
the only legacy game I've played so far. I haven't played any other.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Time Stories necessarily a legacy game. In the sense that you don't destroy anything.
No, Time Story is not a legacy game at all. I mean, it has some flares in there, but it's. I don't know if I gave to understand that. No, Time Story is not a legacy game.
Right.
I have not played Time Story, so I've seen people on the table with it. Looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a very stylish game.
So it's campaign-ish?
Yes.
Or so there's benefits to playing it a second time and a third time then?
Yeah. I mean, there's the game sessions are supposed to last longer. But the neat part is, in a way, kind of what he was saying is that you can buy expansions for it, and those expansions are new stories. So unfortunately, from what I understand, one of the big drawbacks is once you've played through a story, that you've pretty much explored all the stuff, and you don't have any new surprises if you try to play that story again. So you want to go out and buy a new story pack, and you use that so that way your group of friends can experience something new.
Which seems like maybe a better model than the start over pack for a legacy style game, right? Because like there are spoilers in the Pandemic Legacy. So if you were to play all the way through the 12 months, there would be some lost suspense to go back and get the starter pack and do it again. Whereas I guess they're getting ready to publish season 2 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's 5 packs, 4 time stories, and Legacies, Pandemic Legacy just coming out. Did it come out yet? It was supposed to come out sometime soon now, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's out yet.
Okay, I hope they will have it Origins. If they do, I'll buy it.
Oh, that's right. You're going to Origins. That's in the first part of June.
Yeah.
One of these years. We'll have to go there with our mobile broadcast suite or something.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go to. I've got it clearance from the tower. The tickets are on sale the 3rd of May. PAX Unplugged is in Philadelphia in November, and
I got a room, so you can bunk up with me.
Oh, you've already got a room in Philly?
A block and a half from the convention center.
Wow. Yeah, I'll take half of that. Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to that or not, because you were going to try and go to Essen and some other things, Gil.
Yeah, well, I was still going to Europe, but I'm probably not going to go to Essen at this point.
I'll just have to hit up Pete and see if I can get on board with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, what is he doing? We're talking about Pete Fenlon, who what is he? I don't know.
He's the head of Catan Studios. So when Catan split off of
Mayfair
from Mayfair, he went over with that and heads up the Catan Studios, which is owned by what is their name?
Asmodee.
Yes. Yeah. When Asmodee bought him, that's what he did. So, but he's still here in Charlottesville, in the Charlottesville area, and watching his social media feeds every once in a while. It's like, I'm over in Europe doing this thing for a week and a half, and here's all the Catan stuff. So,
yeah,
we'll have to try to get him on here at some point.
That is a good idea. He's very generous with his time with regards to the scouts as well too. He's active in our. John and I are familiar with the scouts together as well too. So, because I don't have enough hobbies and enough things to do with my free time.
Yeah, but that hobby was forced upon us.
It was when my wife gave birth, and it was a boy. Scouting was in the playbook.
Yeah. I mean, there's the beautiful thing is there's a game design thing, and it doesn't actually specifically say video game design, but board game design is something that I plan on doing with my scouts once we get to that point. So
yeah, get those creative juices going.
Yeah.
I will say the kids at that age will design something based on the last thing they played. So before part of the design program ought to be to get them to play games of different styles so they can see.
Yeah, actually, that's another one of those crazy ideas I have in my head is to start a board game camp for middle school age kids and have them, have a studio environment where the first day or two they're playing a bunch of different games. And then the next couple of days, they're brainstorming all these different ideas on how to do this or do that, or what mechanic did this, or what aspect they liked of that, and then spend the next few days building or designing and then play testing. So over the course of a week and a half, they play, they conceptualize, they design, and then they prototype and play test.
Yeah, and then just like a real lesson of life, at the end of that 2 weeks, you steal their intellectual property and make profit off of it.
Right, exactly. I mean,
you get to learn the full business cycle.
You lose your access to it because you didn't protect it well enough ahead of time. So I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah, in so many ways, and so many times.
We'll have a side business that's just setting up Kickstarters to fund things as they come through.
As we've stolen them from children.
As we steal them from middle school kids. No, but seriously though, my idea was to, if I had that studio, it would have kind of a cardboard machine and a 3D printer and all those things. They would be able to walk away for the price of their admission. They'd be able to walk away with a fleshed out prototype of their game. So
yeah, that's a pretty neat idea. We've talked about that before. It seems like it's been a while that we've been talking about it. So Lots of talk. No, I never
know.
follow through to do anything, but it's all good ideas.
But I mean, like the idea of a board game teaching something. Like I think gaming in general, and that's not just board games, but I grew up playing early editions of D&D, so pen and paper tabletop games. I've been a video game person since the Atari, and I still play them on a regular basis. So like gaming in general, the concept of gaming is wonderful for kids. Like it teaches reading comprehension and problem solving and thinking outside the box and all the different things that a kid can benefit from getting older all comes to play with all of these games. I mean, Battlestar Galactica, which I'm seeing over your shoulder there, teaches you not to trust anybody.
Yeah, that's exactly what it teaches.
Because everyone is a Cylon.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a wonderful game, by the way. That's probably in my top 5.
I like those cooperative games with the trader. I mean, because and not all of them have a trader. Like they don't necessarily. I'm trying to remember what we played recently during board game night, but it's very much kind of a Battlestar-esque game. But unlike Battlestar, where you're guaranteed to have a Cylon at some point in the game, this game had a similar mechanic, but there's no guarantee that everybody is. So you could spend the whole game worrying about who might stab you in the back, and nobody would.
I think the
So
two
you're
first
basically
games,
shooting yourself in the foot.
I think the two first games I remember with the Betrayer is, I think the Lords of Waterdeep. I think was the first one that in the Shadows over Camelot. I'm not sure which one of those two introduced, but I know it's one of those two games was the first time I've seen the role of the Betrayer. And I think for the Shadows over Camelot, it just works wonderful. I think
but there again, that might be the one that John was talking about, because there's no guarantee that there is the Dark Knight or the that's in there. So yeah, and I've got that game and the Merlin expansion for it too. And I keep trying not to rush the games into my son's hands because he's still 9 and he's interested in games. But I every time I move something around on the shelf, I think, oh, I'd really like to play that, and he sees Imperial Assault and he's like, let's play that. I'm like, well, that's a little.
It's heavy.
Yeah. I want to, you can't go from Hero Realms or Star Realms into Imperial Assault, but you certainly can get the pieces out and build a little battlefield, and so.
No, it wasn't Shadows over Camelot, because I don't think I've actually played that. So at some point I need to get that, and
yeah,
it wasn't Resistance, which we play a lot at our house, but it was definitely Battlestar-esque. I'm researching while we're talking to see if I can find off the top of my head.
You were talking about introduce games to your kids. I was very trying to be conservative with Gabby, but one day she bugs me to play Cry Havoc, and we played, and she did really well. She does play not as well as Cry Havoc, but she plays Blood Rage really well. I mean, I have to be a little laid back playing for her, but it's kids can surprise you sometimes. I'm very surprised how well she's picking up some of those games, and I like to play Cry Havoc with once in a while with her, and because I know if I do it now, a couple years from now, she will be zooming in on that game.
I'm not familiar with Cry Havoc. I have not played that.
It's a fairly new one, isn't it?
Yeah, I bought it last year, but it's fairly new. It's a wonderful game.
That's the first half of the phrase, right? Cry Havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what kind of game is it.
I have it there. It's an area control with an asymmetrical role playing. Yeah, I mean asymmetrical power. So you have those 4 groups trying to colonize this planet, and you have a native species in the planet. So you battle against the species and against each other to take over control of a certain area in building some engine building there to get some point, and you have 5 rounds to go through, and that's the minis are pretty great. Not
So
as good as Blood Rage, but pretty
It
great.
sounds a little bit like a version of Small World with miniatures.
It's a better version than the Small World, yes.
Oh yeah,
I like Small World.
yeah. So do I. I've got a couple of editions of that.
Yeah, there's well, that area control and movement, yeah, it's a similar idea. Many games have that. A little more, I would say, a little more grown up Small World. Yeah.
Got it. I figured out what it was. It was New Angeles.
Oh, New Angeles.
Which has a kind of a Battlestar. Well, I mean, it has the potential betrayer aspect of things, but it's much more of an economic game. Have you ever heard of that one?
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar enough with it. Tell us about it.
I've never played it.
It's set in the Android universe. It's one of Fantasy Flight games, and I absolutely love the Android universe because the whole cyberpunk-esque. But you play as a head of a corporation in New Angeles, and you're working cooperatively with all the other corporation heads to try to implement regulations to combat different problems. Like you're trying to improve people's lives by increasing this type of entertainment, and do this and do that, and then things are happening in the meantime where the world, like when something happens, if this section of the city gets infected, then it can spread to other sections of the city based on different rules. You can have people rebel and cause problems, and each person in charge of each corporation has kind of a focus in their sets of cards. So like one person's really good at security, and another person's really good at doing this thing and doing that thing, and you're all kind of bidding to get cards that have special powers that allow you to do something special during the game. So you're kind of cooperative, competitive. You're trying to fight over those cards, but you're trying to do it all together to make your at the end of each round to make your list of requirements. Like you have to have this much in this resource and this much in this resource. But there is a potential at some point somebody could be a plant by the government to essentially throw a wrench into the works of New Angeles and turn over control to the government, kind of thing. So it's fun. It's different. Very, very different.
It's fairly new, right? It came out last year, I think, as well.
Yeah, like towards the end of last year. Steve brought it over last time, and we had just enough people to play it. So.
New Angeles. All right. Yeah, like you said, it's Fantasy Flight. It's Android Net. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the author's name that created that universe.
Oh, the Android universe?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. I mean, it's very much a cyberpunk-esque game. Well, it's right over top of Shadows over Camelot to your
other side
hand shoulder. Netrunner, right under roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the universe. We've played a bunch of different Android-themed games over the years. I mean,
it's right.
We played Mainframe, which is kind of a weird game where you are trying to get through rooms in a building type of thing. It's a dungeon crawl type of mindset, but with not with minis on a board as much as you're progressing from card to card to card, and things happen as you go, and it's randomized, and there's back doors into places. Played Netrunner, of course, a lot. I absolutely love that. So I played a lot of Magic in the 90s and spent a lot of money on Magic in the 90s. And I always hated the whole pay to be competitive aspect of CCGs in general. So when Fantasy Flight came up with the LCG concept, to where everything is, all the boxes have the same stuff. There's no blind find this card to be uber powerful and could be competitive. it's the only aspect of Netrunner that's expensive is if you want to be really, really competitive in a lot of game places, you have to have more than one base set to be able to max out the amount of a card in particular. But I love that idea. I love the fact that it's kind of the deck builder, bring it in kind of like Magic. And of course the theme is awesome.
Well, it's no secret, I guess, or it's no surprise that it's popular, and it's a reiteration. Because you said you went from Magic to Android, but that is Richard Garfield was
that's what it was.
the Android universe. So, and I think I'd read somewhere or seen something on Geek Dad just within the last week about that said if you wanted to jump in to Magic, you have to invest in buy all these cards to be competitive with people who've been playing it forever. If you want to jump into a game in LCG like Netrunner, you only have to spend about $1,000 to get all of the expansions. And I just thought, only have to spend about $1,000. So
it's funny. I worked in a game store in '97, so late '90s when I got out of the military, and the original Netrunner, pre-Fantasy Flight Netrunner. And I will have to pause and go off screen for a minute and bring it back and hold it up. It was a dual card game. I mean, it was the same concept. It wasn't an LCG. It was just that box, but it had two decks, one for the runner and one for the corp, and it was same kind of setting and universe. It was very cyberpunk, but it wasn't as pretty. But yeah, I'm gonna duck. I'll be back in a minute.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna mute myself. I'll go get it because it's worth seeing.
Gil, have you ever played it while John is going?
Netrunner or the Android?
Android Netrunner. It's yeah.
No, I mean not the new version that he's talking about, right? No, because that's a new version that he was talking about. I never played any of them. I have a copy from the 2012. Never played, sitting on the shelf. I need to play sometime. Yeah.
Many of the games I have are on the shelf and have never been played, so I can relate to that. So,
which is weird. I should be a game easy to find people to play, but for some reason, just never came around.
Yeah, it's one of those games that Logan, my son, is interested in, but it's a little. I don't know. The rules can be complex. It's asymmetrical, which is fun. One guy's the corporation, one guy is the net runner. But I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to dive into something that complex and that clearly attack each other. But I don't know. Maybe I'm selling maybe I'm selling my son short. Maybe I need to let him try it and not like it. But I always hate to start something new that I really want to like, knowing that if he gets a bad taste in his mouth now, it'll be that much harder to get on the table a couple of years from now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm bringing my bag. I think not even last week. I think 2 weeks ago was one of the few times that one of my game came back. Everybody seems to have the last game of the game night, and it's like, I seldom get my games out on the table. And if you arrive there like 15 minutes late, everybody has their games out, play out, and you ended up joining the table. So there's a lot of games that I bought that I was like excited to buy. And because I can't be there at 5:30 like everybody else, my games are never making it to the table. And that's kind of depressing some days.
Yeah. And I'm actually just the opposite. I tend to go and play games and then buy what I've played. Really good friend of mine, Jim, lives up in Winchester, Virginia, and his game collection will dwarf any of them that we have. And we'll go to his house as a group and play a game that I've never heard of, never seen before, and now I know how to play it. So now I need to buy it because here's a game that I'm familiar with, and so he's good advertisement for these game publishers because I come away from his table buying something just about every time. But he is an incredibly active collector of games. He hasn't gotten so much into Kickstarter, but I think that'll probably change when he realizes what it is.
Yeah, well, Kickstarter has been taking a good chunk of my my paycheck lately. But
I will
tell you what. most of my games I play for joy and play here, play now. I'm not so big on the new, and sometimes I get absorbed on this. Always the new game lately that's happening on our game nights, but it bothers me, but not as much as I thought it would. When last year I played the same game twice, and it's fine because as I said, like there's a lot of games that I play I didn't like it, and I was about to buy it, but at the same time I played Scythe 4 times now, none of them with my copy. Because everybody seems to have a copy, and yeah,
I don't.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah, Matt bought it. Matt backed it so that he could bring it over to my house, but then hasn't brought it over to my house.
Yeah, and I haven't been to his house since it came out, so that's like a year. So
yeah, I didn't back it, so I bought a retail box. He has all the good beats and
I got everything but the art book, and I regret not getting the art book. So
no, I couldn't find the Netrunner, but this is what it looked like.
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll find it eventually. It's in my stack somewhere.
I think we all have that stack somewhere.
Yeah, the game that you like to make it look pretty on your shelf, and all the rest piled in the back.
Yeah, this is 2 days of arranging games to get it to look just right for the camera, and then and then the corner is floor to ceiling, old copies with a corner strip.
Your Star Wars minis are kind of lost in the background. You probably just want to replace that with something else.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get them out of there too. So I did have a little LED light up in there to kind of brighten them up a little bit, but yeah. And my daughter, she loves to play with them. So if I put them away too far, she won't play with it. She won't be able to get to them. But she loves to just line them all up and talk to them and have them talk to each other. And yeah,
not too long before she'll be ready to play it.
Oh yeah, well she is getting there soon, and she likes the dark side. She's 5 and loves Darth Vader, and so I don't know if I should be concerned that she's so into the dark side at this age or not. But
no. Steve, my one of my other gaming friends, his son, who I've known since he was 3 or 4 years old and is graduating from high school this year. Back then he loved dark side stuff too. He loved the villains in all the movies, and he turned out okay.
I think it's all about how you introduce those things to your kids. I play Summoner Wars with Gabby for a couple of years now, and other games like even Arcade Quest. That is our favorite game to play together, and it's just how you introduce. If you do it in a light way, it doesn't become a problem. I think when you do too much protection and hiding things, I think it's more an issue, of exposing your kids to that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
And I think in board games it helps when even if the two different sides have different abilities and different strengths, as long as they have a counter for the other side, so that they don't get that mindset that this one side of the game is more powerful than the other. I mean, showing them that even though the Empire is more powerful overall in Rebellion, the Rebellion can swoop in and move fast and do this and do that. So
yeah, that's a good point. They find the balance in things.
Yeah, that's very Star Wars of you.
We actually play. I just played a Risk before that's why I got here a little running, and we played a Risk Star Wars, which Gabby loves. So those little games are awesome too.
Is that the new version of?
That's the Black Series, yeah.
Yeah. Calling it Risk is weird though.
It has nothing to do with Risk now.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a couple other games that are like that too. It's like it looks like this. My understanding of that one is it's kind of a spiritual successor to the Queen's Gambit.
Gambit, yeah, that's maybe the theme right there. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
So Matt might not know, but the Queen's Gambit was a episode 1 Star Wars game that came out that they only ran a small run of it, but even though episode 1 was a horrible movie in most regards, the game itself was amazingly fun.
Yeah.
But then they never made another issue of it because the movie didn't do as well and blah, blah, blah. So it's one of those really sought after games on most game communities because you can't find it.
I bought the Risk, the Black Edition, because Gil sent me a link. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago, where it was like $16 or $18 on Amazon or something? So
yeah, I heard it was a good game.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking into my box, and then says buy it again. It's like for half the price I paid for.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the fact that they ask you to buy a board game again.
Yeah.
Just in case you used it up, buy another board game.
The subscription service, right?
Yeah.
Every 6 months we'll send you another copy.
But we bought those cheap Star Wars figurines. So we the little round tokens. We replaced Luke, and so we did a little, for another $7 you can do a nice upgrade in the game too.
The only Star Wars game that I had from like back then is they had I think it was called Epic Battles, where it was kind of like a card game with a board with like a grid on it. And the idea was that basically you have a team of heroes or villains and you fight on this field and everybody has their own thing. It was kind of cheaply produced, but it was actually a lot of fun because it had little minis for all the characters. They weren't great minis, but they were still pretty good.
If Star Wars Destiny ever gets back in stock anywhere for long enough to buy, I'm going to get a copy of the starter decks and play that. Have either of you played that yet?
Is that the LCG?
Yeah, it's the LCG dice game. So the 2 starter packs are Kylo Ren and Rey, and you get it is kind of like Dice Masters, kind of like Magic, a little bit in between there, I guess. But you bring characters out and then you attack each other with them, and you can buff them up. You can get enhancements and droids and all kinds of things to make each other stronger. So that looks interesting. And the thing is, it's random. It's a CCG, so it's dice packs and things like that are a couple of bucks. But I don't mind investing a small amount in some of that kind of stuff if after we find out if it's fun. We've got a lot of the Dice Master stuff because Logan likes to play it. So I mean,
dice are just nice to have.
Yeah,
like I love
good
the
dice.
weight of dice. Yeah, good dice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bag of dice that I've gathered over the years just because I was a pen and paper tabletop guy for a long time. So my son likes using those to make up his own games. So
yeah, they're at the
cats like to play with them.
The game shop here in Stanton's got a barrel or a big bowl at the cash register, and it's down at children's height, which is marketing genius. And it's all just random dice, and you can, I don't know, $10 or something, you can fill a coffee mug with these dice. And every time we go in there, my kids are scooping and pouring and scooping and pouring. And I am too. It's there's you said, there's a tactile satisfaction that comes from it.
And they sound good.
Yeah.
Like clinking together.
Yeah.
I had a set of pewter dice. Those were not fun because they were just so heavy.
Yeah, I got a metal set when I did a Pathfinder campaign, and I was a dwarf, and I thought, a character, so I bought a set of metal dice. So that was kind of fun, but they hit the table kind of hard.
I like dice. Chucking dice it's a thing on its own. It's like just
yeah. All right, Gil, what was the last thing you played? Tell us about it.
Anachrony, my favorite game right now. You can see on the top shelf. I got the pack with the minis as well. That game is just fabulous.
And that was a Kickstarter that just delivered recently, right?
It was a Kickstarter, and then it came out. This is retail already.
It's in retail already. All right.
Yeah. They had a small printout of it. There's a website, legenddesk.com. They are not paying me anything. I'm just saying because they have the Anachrony there. It had an excellent price. So as soon as he got it, I ordered a copy because I regret not have bought them on the Kickstarter. But I was lucky that people in the group that I go had it, and I played it, and I just like, are you guys leaving? Could we do one more round? Kind of thing. And I've been.
What kind of game is it? I was just curious what kind of game it is.
Yeah, it's kind of a time travel game. So the planet, I think it's 2044. The planet got destroyed, and this asteroid hit Earth, and so it creates this new metal called neutronium, and so time travel becomes possible. And so what you have to do is, you can, if you need certain resources, you can, in a bidding kind of thing, you can go back in time and request that resource, but you lose point for that. So you have to go back in time and pay that off and come back. So it's all variable powers and science fiction kind of an idea. It's basically a work placement game where you have those hexagons. You go building engines, you go recruiting workers, you go get water, you get the minerals that you needed, and you score points almost like a salad way to get points. You get points in several different ways, and you have those anomalies that come in. The game it's a lot of iconography, because I think they try to cater so they could multi-language, but it's very easy to pick up. One round, you pick up the game, and the minis looks awesome. So in order for your
looks more complex than it is.
Yeah, it looks much more complex than it. Yeah, it does. It does. So you have to put your workers on those exosuits so they can go into the planet or traveling time and stuff like this. So the mechanic is really, really good. It's a really good worker placement game with a theme that I love. The board is beautiful. The minis look beautiful. It's nice. There's very little downtime. A lot of things you can plan while other persons are working. And your worker kind of get tired, and you rest them, and you bring them back. So you use water for that, and you move into the track. So you go into this era kind of thing, and at midpoint there's the impact that happens for a second time, where so everybody has to get off of the planet. So it's really, really cool game. I loved it.
Your description, Gil, was brilliant, but it actually made it sound really that's really confusing. It's resource management, worker placement, role-playing game.
It's not a role-playing game. It's a work placement with variable power.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that sounds interesting.
And you do have to manage your resource back and forth, and how you get built. But again, it sounds complex, and even to explain it, because there's so many things that happen. But the game itself is not that complex.
Is there a battle? Are they attacking your neighbors for resources?
No, there's no battle. You're doing your own thing. You place your work in locations that somebody else can go in there, because there's only so many buildings that can be done and that around, only so many workers to be recruited. But other than that, there's no direct conflict. Yeah.
How many players?
4 players. Yeah, you have a chronobot to play. The solo version is one of the best solo games I've played in a long time. It really, the AI does an amazing job as well for that game, and It's heavy. Yeah, as head weight goes.
What about you, John? What was the last thing you played that was interesting?
Well, we've been on a break for a while for game night, so I haven't played a lot. I've been playing against computer on my iPad a lot of games, just to pass time and keep myself honed. But the last big game I played was Above and Below. And I like that. I mean, it was, I got it for like a gift from my brother sometime last year, and then it sat on my shelf, and nobody wanted to play it. And then finally, like the last time we got people over for board games, it was just one person showed up. So I'm like, okay, what do I have that plays 2-player? and Above and Below popped up to the top, and we kind of learned it and played it at the same time. Have either of you played it?
I have not.
No? It's, yeah, you're muted, but yeah, I saw you point at it.
Sorry, I actually have the game. I have played. Yeah.
It's one of those games that I would buy just for the beauty of the art alone.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful looking game.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a worker placement, but what I like about it is it's got kind of two halves of the game. You have the resource aspect of the worker placement things going on. Your resource is people, so you have to recruit and train people to be able to do it, but then you have limitations on how those people can be brought back into the game once they're exhausted based on how many beds you have in your town. So you have to basically build out houses with beds, but then you have other houses that give you resources, give you other things. But then all of that's kind of an engine to then try to send your people to explore. And that's the below part. That's underneath this town. There is caverns, and you send people down into the caverns to explore. And at that point, it becomes a choose your own adventure type of game. So the people that are exploring initiate a dice roll, which tell you which page to go to, or which chapter your opponent or your other player to read to you. And then that person gives you a choice. And based on how many people you send to explore, as well as other factors, you have so many successes you can get with your group of people to complete a randomized chapter in this book. It's kind of fun, because there's a ton of different things you can do there. But then ultimately, once you explore, you'll either get resources or money, but then you'll ultimately, if you're successful, you'll get another tile to be able to place at what they call an outpost, which is kind of like a house above the ground. An outpost is a house below the ground. And then you have the Puerto Rico aspect, where towards the end of the game, you have randomized things that you can purchase that give you bonus points for one thing or another. So, yeah.
I like that idea of like you choose, so you can go like, oh, you met a giant. Are you gonna fight it, or are you gonna talk him into drink some ale with you? And that's the aspect that I kind of enjoy in the game.
Yeah, and I like that it had kind of some of them weren't just cut and dry. They weren't just like roll the die, choose your thing, and succeed or not. They had some of them that are like roll the die, choose your thing, and then you go down the hallway and here's another thing to do. And yeah, so like reading, I mean, when I was a kid, I read a lot of choose your own adventure books, and I would always go back and figure out what I could do to go the other way. And like that, I got that same feeling from this one too.
And Near and Far, which is
the new one.
It's a standalone, but it's a continuation. It's coming out, I guess, sometime soon now. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't looked at too much of it, but it's got like a distance mechanic, right?
Right. Yeah. And all the characters, what is that? Islebound.
Yeah.
Above and Below, and then Near Five. All the characters, you can use the characters on all three games. You can be between games. Yeah.
Yeah, because people are your resource. So.
That's why I'm seeing a lot of like the Secret Cabal's Kickstarter. One of the reward levels there was above and below cards of the 5 guys, right?
Yeah.
I think it was.
And they can choose to be on Islebound or on the Near Far. I think they can choose which 3 games they wanted their character to be from, something like that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, they did something similar with Dead of Winter, where like people from other games came into the Dead of Winter universe. The cross
promo cards, yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I just keep getting the same game on the table, which I'm not really. With all these on the shelf behind me, I hate to keep doing that, but it's what's holding his interest. So, Hero Realms. Yeah, we played Star Realms until I got Hero Realms, and now we play this because it's fun because I got the base game, and then I ordered it all, and I got all the hero packs. You can get those different heroes, and so then we just kind of hey, we played it 3 or 4 times, and then he said, well, let's try the hero packs. So we get the hero, and he picked a cleric because it was on top, and he beat me. He beat me, and he just won't play anything other than the cleric because so I'm trying the rogue and I'm trying the different characters and having a good time with it. And it plays so fast. So, he still is not
3 or 4 games in the same time that
that's right. And we can turn the TV on the other side of the room, and it's and still stay focused on this. And we tend to on Friday nights, the rest of the house will go to sleep, and he and I will come downstairs here and play 2 games of that, eat some chips and drink some soda, and then watch a movie. And that's a pretty good Friday night by any measurement, and I get to do it every week. So
I want to try out because I also kickstarted it. I did not invest the full amount to get the hero packs, so I just have the base game with the promo cards that came from Kickstarter. But I'd like to get a more than 2-player game going on it, because Star Realms for me felt good at two people, but once he started trying to manipulate things and make it so that you could have more than 2 people in the game, it just felt weird. Yeah. Whereas this one feels like it's designed for more than 2 people.
I think you're right. Yeah, and I think it's definitely it definitely would kind of create a different scenario with the cards you have to choose from in the middle, because if you're playing with 4 people, that card will be there because I can see my opponent across the table doesn't have the resources to take that card. It kind of change it would change the urgency of the decision making.
Yeah, I'm so glad he did that, because I picked up Epic not long after it went retail, and it was just not good.
Yeah.
Have either of you played Epic?
I have not, but it was on my list, and then my list got delayed, and these other ones came out.
I mean, it's basically like stripped down bare bones Magic. Like there's no mana system or monetary system for doing things, but you have monsters and you have spells. So there's a lot of similarities in terms of the theme between Hero Realms and Epic, but it just didn't play well. Like there were a lot of fiddly rules on how to do this or do that just didn't feel right considering the setup, whereas the Hero Realms is just a natural progression.
I think a lot of those styles of games are getting very successful right now, because if you didn't get into Magic early on or a few years back, it's really hard to get into Magic right now.
Yeah.
If anybody finding a group, unless you find a buddy or some friends that wants to start with you and progress, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's just very hard for a new person to get into the Magic right now.
But it also only works if there's just 2 of you. So if you go to John's house for a game night, there's 6 people there. You're not going to play Magic because you're going to try and play something that all 6 people can play. So I guess it's kind of depends on your situation.
Right.
And we have a ton of like 2-player games laying around for those. Like you have 8 people and you don't want to split in 2 groups of 4. People can play 6-player there and 2-player over there. So.
Now Magic is what supports a lot of the your local friends stores. I mean, if it wasn't for Magic, a lot of those stores would be closed by now.
Yeah, and that was by design. But I see the Magic cards all at the register in Walmart anymore. So, Wizards of the Coast is going to grab it all. There was a lot of we want to support the small brick and mortar store and keep everybody on the table, but they're gonna grab it with whatever retailer they can get it from now, though.
Yeah, but like he was saying, the fact that those stores have like Magic Night,
places to play,
sit around and they play for 4 or 5 hours, and they sell snacks, they sell drinks, they sell expansions, they sell boxes. All of the sundry items that go along with the experience of playing Magic is what keeps them busy.
And then you have the guys, the miniature guys coming over too. So you have those 2 groups. Normally, they are the ones at the store. I mean, board game people, not in the same volume. Not that they don't go to board game stores. They're just not in the same volume.
Yeah, but there are some crossover games like Epic and Dominion and a few of the other deck builder type games, and Netrunner that we talked about earlier, that kind of bridge that gap between the CCG, I'm going to spend money to find that perfect card for my ideal deck, to the board game side where it's like I'm going to buy the game and maybe a couple expansions, but that's it. So I'm happy to see that, you know, us old people who can't afford to stay competitive in Magic can get that experience with other games.
Yeah. I am the other side of that is I'll find an LCG. It's on the shelf here somewhere. Game of Thrones. That's the first edition of the card game, the dueling kind of two-person card game. And
Right.
I got started on it, and there again, it's an LCG, but there are so many expansions out for it, and I just kept buying them. I just like, oh, I want that, and I want these cards, and I'm a completionist. I'm a game maker's dream, because
I think they call you a whale.
yeah, well, that might be it, because that's another reason for I'm not really pushing that Android Netrunner is I'll get that out on the table, and Logan and I'll have a great time playing it. Then I'm like, well, now I need all the cards, so
That's what
ready.
happened
Let me give it a try.
when I got Summon of Wars the first year. Like the first 6 months playing Summon of Wars, like I want to get every little pack and fill it out that box, you know. And then you realize now how many can you play?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did that with Netrunner. I bought the first 2 big packs, and then the first 3 or 4 of the small packs, because I was going to like a night where everybody, you know, played against each other, and I wanted to try this deck, and I wanted to try that deck, and then I stopped because
so for the most part, did you just keep a company deck and a runner deck kind of pre-built?
Yep. My runner deck was much better than my corp deck. Just because I don't have the mindset to play defensively in that game as much as I have the mindset to play offensively, and that's really the main difference in that, is that, you know, corp is very much of a defensive and trap and capture type of mindset, whereas Netrunner is all about taking risks and pushing the envelope. So yeah, I love the asynchronous aspect of it.
Yeah, that appeals to me. We played it just one time there at your house, so I'm pretty sure if I were to pull that box off the shelf again, I'd find all the cards still in the plastic inside. So for now though.
Yeah.
So I've only got 10 years until my kid goes off to college. I'm going to play every game on this shelf with him at some point. So
even Eclipse, we need to play Eclipse.
Oh, to me that's a wonderful game, but a lot of complex rules, and I think I played that at a convention with Jim, who I mentioned earlier, and it took us the better part of a day, I think, to play it with 5 people.
So like our board game night has we play kind of the medium weight games a lot of times, stuff that you can play in a couple of hours, or, you know, lighter games like social games. We save the big games mainly because I don't have a table that can support Eclipse for like the once every quarter game night at Steve's, and he has all of those. He has Eclipse. He spent a lot of money, I don't even know how much, on getting a custom version of the Dune board game with all the original rules versus like Rex, which is the bastardized version of.
Yeah, because they couldn't reprint it with a theme. The family wouldn't give them the rights.
Yeah. We've played Rex a few times, but that Dune game, like playing it with him, because he's an older guy who kind of grew up at the heyday of board games, with like Avalon Hill was one of the only companies making strategic board games and that kind of thing. So he has all these fond memories of being young and playing these games, and he wants to introduce everybody else to them. Yeah. So we actually finally got to sit down with Dune, and it was a lot of fun.
You know, I don't want to. I love the nostalgic. I love the old board games, and I love the fact that like this copy of Dune. But I think we're in the heyday right now. I think we're in the best time. I think we're in the best time for board games right now. There's so much innovation happening out there, and new concepts and things that I never would have thought of, and nobody ever thought of before.
Over 1,000 games last year,
Yeah.
and a lot of good ones.
And there's a lot of crap in there too. There's a lot of
Yeah.
cash grabbing based on a license, but if you stick with a good brand and they've got a good license,
But
it's going to be
here's
all
the
right.
thing: if you have 10 games being produced, a bunch of them going to be bad. So you have a small volume of good. So that increase of volume means you got a lot of good games to choose from.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And even the indie stuff is good. Like
Oh, yeah.
these companies you never heard of are putting out some solid games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some really good stuff from that, and I think if you've got a good source on the internet to find out where the crap is, the Watch It Played guy, what's his name, Rodney Smith.
Rodney Smith, yeah.
He's great at showing us how it's done, and Tom from Dice Tower, they always get the very first look at everything. So if you want to see what the pieces look like dumped out on the table, you're going to get some content from them. So it's really helpful for me to go, that's not something I really want. I do kind of fall into the hype machine. I'll back something off based on hype alone. I did back Rising Sun and then canceled my backing about an hour before the end of it there, the last hour, just because it's a beautiful game, great pieces, the so many of the stretch goals. I mean, a whole extra box of stretch goals, but
Wow.
it just didn't look like something I'd ever get on the table. So
It reminded me of Shogun.
Yeah.
Like the old Milton Bradley Shogun.
I don't know. To me, it was like, I'm not saying every single game, but the majority of the games came out from Simon are amazing.
Yeah.
I trust them. And even I backed them on the first 5 minutes they were in the air and everything crashed.
Yeah.
Whatever they offered from the beginning, I was happy with already. And all the minis are just going to be plus. But I knew I would not be able to get that game is going to cost that much retail only. And I trust them enough. I trust Eric Lang at this point to, giving him a shot. The game I might be wrong. The game might be bad, but so far, his record is pretty positive.
Yeah, I don't think the game is going to be bad either. It's beautiful. It'll be a solid design. I don't know. I just felt like it just seemed like something I would never get on the table, on my table at least.
Yeah.
So
that's the kind of game I make sure Steve knows about. So if he buys it, it's a heavyweight game with pretty minis. He'll buy it and we'll play it eventually.
Yeah, I'll come play it at Gil's house.
It's going to be another of those games that, like Scythe, that you're going to bring to the game night and everybody's going to have a damn copy. So.
Well, I won't even take mine. I've cut the shrink and opened the box, and I looked inside and went, oh, I'm not getting all that now. And I put the box lid back down on it. So right now it's not even punched. It's not been out. Maybe I'll just hold on to it and sell it, And
I did to learn the game. I got to have it out. I can't just
Although I'm going to bring it on Saturday night, John. I'm hoping to get over to your place, and bring it if somebody wants to. We get it to the table, but
I don't know. I don't think anybody else in the game group has it. So
I'll tell you a game from Simon that is just came out that I got to play a early copy. It's called Ethnos. Simple game. You can play with hardcore games. You can play with your family. I'm trying to get the name of the designer here, Paulo More. So it's from Simon. It's a really nifty, really simple game. You guys should check it out.
What was the name of it?
Ethnos.
Ethnos.
ETHNOS. Yeah, from Simon. It just came out, I think, just this week or last week, and I love the game. A little area control, area of influence kind of game. There's a little card drafting where you have those different mythical creatures, and you have a dragon, and you have to make sets. So the sets you get
pretty
points. Yeah. So it's and I don't think it's expensive either. I think it's gonna be 30 under.
It's about around $40 on Amazon.
Okay. Well. Amazon is more expensive for games lately for some reason.
They Asmodee and Fantasy Flight have. I guess that's the same thing now, but they're holding their online retailer prices higher to kind of give the brick and mortar stores a chance.
But
$32 on cool stuff.
Yeah, so that's probably what I think that's what they announced the price would be in most places.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very cool game. So and I played. So it's another thing, another game that I played from Simon that gives me assurance that most of the games are coming out. I mean, who knew Simon a few years back? Cool Mini or not, look how big they are right now. They're just thriving like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Game. Oh, go ahead, John.
Sorry, there's one game that I've had on my wish list on Amazon that I need to get. I'm trying to remember what it was now. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
I was just going to wrap things up, so dig into that.
Sure.
Tell us what it is before you're going to your wish list, because Gil or I probably have it on the shelf.
Yeah, Egyptian theme.
Kemet?
Yes, Kemet.
Oh,
it looks like my kind of game too.
It is awesome. It's awesome. It's on my top 20 as well. I don't have a copy because of the price, but I played twice now, and it's really, really good game.
And it has one or two expansions.
I think they have at least one expansion that came out. Yeah.
John, have you played Raw?
No.
It's an auction game, and the artwork is the tattoos that you have on each of your forearms there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Kemet base game is like $60 on Amazon, and then Ta Seti is the expansion, and it looks like you can't buy it outright. You have to buy it from a reseller.
Huh.
It's a pretty looking game.
All right. Well, we've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we'll wrap it up here with something that no one will ever hear, because no one's going to make it to the end of an hour and 15-minute podcast. But a little quick promo for what you guys got coming up. Gil, where are you at with recording your Portuguese game reviews? Have you started that yet?
I did. Not reviews. I'm doing teaching games, so it's very involved. Editing. It's not as easy as it sounds. Rodney Smith I give that guy, what that man does is an art,
Oh yeah. Yeah. So you're what's the first game you're going to teach?
The first game I have what is the game? It's Mysterion and Emothap. Those are the two first games. Yeah.
Two games I don't have, so I'll have to learn Portuguese between now and the time that you get that video out.
It's similar to Spanish. I mean, you can pick up something, right?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, and that's you're going to do that under the Dwarf Gamer.
Dwarf Player, yeah.
Dwarf Player.
And if Brazilian people are not going to watch this because in English, most at least. But I did the translation in Portuguese from the Kickstarter. Got my name. The Grim Forest. So I put it on. It's on Geek, Board Game Geek, so you can get the Portuguese version of the Grim Forest.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and John, you're going to do some graphic stuff tomorrow night, right? You're doing.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be on the Twitch channel for Sebastian Bleeks, he's a guy I met through a company that makes third-party plugins for Adobe Illustrator. When I went out to LA for Adobe Max a few years ago, I hung out with those guys, and Sebastian's their trainer / American representative on the West Coast type person. And this is his after hours. So it's like off the clock type of talk. And I mentioned the technique that I use for a lot of my designs. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. And then I'm still doing the 100 days of design, exploring op art designs for things that I've been posting up on my Behance and my Instagram pages daily. So I'm on day 20. I think it's day 20.
Yeah.
Out of 100. So I'm almost a quarter of the way there.
Yeah. You did the NaNoWriMo last year and stuck it all the way out too.
Yeah. I have to go back to that novel eventually too.
Yeah. You have more endurance when it comes to those things. I chase the shiny. So
it's tough. I mean, I have the day job and then freelance gigs too. So throwing a daily challenge into the mix gives you that thing. Like most of the ones I've been doing for that 100 days have been in the half an hour I have between making lunches for the wife and son and getting him on the bus and heading to work. So like I have a half an hour window to get the design down. So
Yeah. Well, here on Geek Spiel, I've got my first ever Kickstarter interview. Last weekend, I did a Google Hangout with the two designers of a game from Mage Company Games called 12 Realms Dungeon Land. And they were going to launch a Kickstarter on Tuesday. So I interviewed them last week, spent every night this week and this weekend editing the review all together. And then I found out today that they pushed the release date on the Kickstarter a couple of weeks, so I'll probably hold that video back and get it out a little closer to their time. But it's like you said, man. Once you start down that rabbit hole, Gil, you shoot the footage, and I did it with the Google Hangout. These guys are from Athens, Greece, so terrible internet reception or camera reception for them, but do that, and then there's just so an overwhelming amount of stuff you got to do to get the audio ready and cut the video and make the graphics and everything else. So it's been, fortunately, it's one of those things where it's a learning curve. The more you do it, then the easier it gets. But still, it's been a big time sink. So, but otherwise, I plan on being right back here next Sunday night. Got a couple of people that were interested in coming tonight and have emailed me during this broadcast and said, "Oh, well, we definitely will try and get in next week." So, until next Sunday night, I guess Geek Spiel will sign off from Sunday Night Spiel, and see you guys around the web. Cheers, everybody.